Alrighty.
Are we live?
Number 6. We are live.
Let's
California
go.
Pro Wrestling Podcast. We have our man in OC, Josh Rybeck, again. We got our other guy who just got back from OC, having to fight off some stormtroopers on his lady, Mario, back up in Sacramento from Disneyland this weekend. And you have me, Richard Ramos, out here in Pasadena, California, a hotbed, San Gabriel Valley. Anyhow, guys, how's your week going?
Good, can't complain.
Mario,
I wasn't at Disneyland, but you know,
tiring. Man. Yeah, we just did the last couple of days of Disneyland. Just drove the 6 hours back today, so a little tired, but I'm with it. It's just another day in paradise.
Is that why we didn't see you at Fargo? Because it's either Fargo or Disneyland for a weekend.
Ooh, I'll go with that. I'll go with that. Yes, that's why.
Alrighty, so. Most recent news, did you guys see on the mat.com, $1.5 million donated. And some of that money actually is going to one of the new programs in Pennsylvania, Wyoming Seminary. I don't know. That seems like a lot of money. I know not a lot of it, but a chunk of it's going to that part of the program. And did you guys know that they're actually considered like an extension, like Northern Michigan is for Greco?
Yeah.
Yes, I actually did not know that until recently. When I was kind of asking the same question, why would their program get a piece of that 1.5? There's lots of good girls teams around the country that put in a lot of work as well. So I was curious of the same question, why they do. And that's what I was told, was that it's like how Northern Michigan is an extension of our Greco program. Wyoming Seminary is a Olympic Training Center satellite to build our women's program here in the country.
Well, yeah, I would think you hear a lot about grassroots programs, something that is when you're talking with somebody about the Olympic Training Center and things like that, they say like the Olympic Training Center is not going to grow wrestling. It's going to be those grassroots programs. So when you have something like Seminary getting a chunk of that money, I don't know necessarily where all the rest of the money goes, but I would think that growing grassroots programs, getting more girls opportunities to get to competitions or even just sponsored camps, getting some of those high level coaches out there. I think the money would probably be better spent, spreading that around.
Here's my question on this one. I know there's obviously girls that get scholarshiped and whatnot to go there, but I pulled up their website today out of sheer curiosity, and Wyoming Seminary is $55,000 per student. Just let that sit for a second. 55 G's. And yet they're taking money from this 1.5 for their women's wrestling team. I mean, in my opinion, it's just kind of like the rich are getting richer. Now, on the other hand, to play devil's advocate, they are providing opportunity for girls. They are pulling girls from states that don't have a lot of opportunity to give them this chance to wrestle. So, there's some benefits there. But here's the truth is that I have a girls team at the Swamp. We do a lot of travel. We like to build a sport. We could sure use some of that 1.5 our way, so I want to know, where do I sign up for that? What's the criteria? Is it because they're a school? Well, because they're a school is the same reason that they're getting that $55,000 a year per student. So where's the trade-off here,
Yeah, no, you're right. And that's the thing. It's $55,000 a year. They supposedly scholarship some girls in, but really when you have the infrastructure already in place, it's not really hitting you at $55,000 a year to add a couple girls that you're scholarshiping in. You know what I'm saying? There's that.
According to what I know, though, it's only needs-based scholarship financially. There are no athletic scholarships, and Wyoming Seminary has other sports too. Football's a big sport there too, so I think it's needs-based. I don't think it's athletic. I'm sure that the good athletes have a better need, though.
Well, the thing too is, you know what I mean. If they don't, why are you giving money to people who could afford $55,000 a year? Not that they could necessarily just shell out $55,000. I'm sure they're making payments or taking a second out. I don't know. I don't know the situation, but I mean, it just seems to me that a lot of these opportunities that are given like this are people who don't necessarily need money. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you see a GoFundMe for somebody traveling the world team, and you look at it and you're like, whoa, they kind of come from a pretty good background versus somebody who's not necessarily coming from that.
Why haven't we seen them out here on the West Coast? They got that kind of money, man. If I had 1.5, my girls would be going to the Viper Pit. My girls would be at Cornell Duels. My girls would be wrestling at that Cliff King tournament in New York. You know what I'm saying? My girls would be all over the place if money was no object. I mean, my girls are already over the place, and I've got to figure out a way to pay for it. If you got rid of that obstacle for me, can you imagine the travel that we would do? They stay on the East Coast. I would love to have a Wyoming Seminary team come out here and duel my swamp monsters, and see where they at. So I'm wondering, let's follow the trail of money. They're getting 55 per kid. They're getting a chunk of this 1.5. Where's the money going? Are they paying some fancy coaches, which I'm sure they are, and these coaches deserve it? But let's follow the trail of money. If we're trying to grow the sport, is this really effective?
Yeah, well, I mean, you got Aaron Tomeo, who was on the U.S. Coaching staff, I believe, for a while. You got Adeline Gray, I think, is also a coach there.
Best of the
Um,
best. Yep.
yeah, I mean, you got some girls with some accolades and some girls with some coaching experience. Um, but I think too, this was their first year, right? I think this was their first year that they actually had the full season under their belt. Maybe they're just kind of getting their schedule down. But another thing too is they do freestyle. They only do freestyle. So, I mean, you got to look at that also. Like, okay, what big freestyle, you know, tournaments are there on the West Coast? There's not really anywhere for them to make it, but I would like to see them out here. I mean, if not one of my events or something like
The
that,
turf
like,
wars would have been a perfect opportunity for them to come out and flex some muscle.
yeah, Pocatello is definitely something I can imagine them. They may be there next year. You know, we don't know. But another thing too is, you look at their roster this year that they had. They had three AAs. Two sisters were finalists, and you had a fourth place in there. And you got to look at that and kind of think to yourself, yeah. Baker was first place, and then Kaylin Walker was second at 106, and Amanda Walker was fourth. And then aside from that, they didn't have any other placers that I could find on in Fargo. So really, you got to wonder, like, what is their criteria? What are they using to select their team? How are they getting their girls? I mean, you hear rumors. You hear rumors that Amet Elor has been asked to go. I know Stefana, when she was wrestling for Somar and coming out, we were talking about that, and that was an option for her too. Talking to her dad, and they have a needs based. Her dad works his butt off, and he's got a lot of kids. Several kids that are in college and other things. So they definitely would have needed some of that scholarship money. But I know Sunkist is taking care of them now. But yeah, I mean, it helps you, like, can't help but wonder how do you get on that team? You know, I I mean, I know for us, people find out what we try to do for our kids, and we got people from out of state coming over, like, oh, hey, how do we get part of the select team? And it's like, well, there hasn't been a set criteria. There is now, but yeah, I mean, people definitely are looking for help. Sometimes people who don't need help are looking for help. I mean, everybody's looking to save a buck, whether they have it or not, and I understand, I get it, but I think when you're paying $55K a year, I think I would want to see my kids on the mat a little bit more. But that's a philosophy thing also. Maybe they don't believe in it. Maybe they're going a different philosophy from everybody else. And I know, like, one of the guys we had on one of our first podcasts, Patrick, he's one of those guys who's always like, compete less, train more. So maybe that's one of those things also. But there's also some other benefits from being there. You guys know that the seminary girls, from what I heard, I haven't seen it writing it anywhere, but from what I heard is they don't pay to go to the camps at USA Wrestling, and all of them get to go to the camps at USA Wrestling. You guys hear anything about that?
No, but they are part of the USA Wrestling extension program, so that's probably the reason. And the other thing we gotta remember is the family who donated the money did want some of that money to go to Wyoming Seminary. So you really can't, for USA Wrestling to say, oh, we want to use the money as we please. Well, he's just going to say, I'm going to pull my money back in that scenario.
But in that situation, why in that situation, why even donate it to USA Wrestling then? If you already are allocating it to Wyoming Seminary, then why not just do $1 million to USA Wrestling, and then $500,000 to wherever, or vice versa? Why say it's just a USA Wrestling if already you're allocating towards that? I don't know.
That's just a good question. if
Yeah.
I had that much
Yeah, I mean,
money.
I may be wrong, but I'd heard that he had just donated it for the growth of women's wrestling to USA Wrestling to do with as they please. Now, I may be totally wrong with that. I know he's from Pennsylvania and was about growing women's wrestling in the area, but I don't know that he wrote in his endowment that I want you to give X amount of dollars to this private school that already charges girls $55,000 a year to come here. So I don't know. I don't have any inside information. I'm just a crazy dad from California. So.
Yeah, I mean that might be something that we need to call USA Wrestling on and kind of get an idea, about hey, how is this endowment working? Is there a way that grassroots programs can get a hold of some of the money
Yeah,
and
can
try
we
to
get in
grow
on
it?
that?
You know,
Yeah.
I can try to make a call tomorrow and see. They're usually pretty responsive when we reach out to them. But I mean, how would you compete with that, even Mario? I mean, you're saying like bring them out to Pocatello as a high school coach. I mean, what's the sell? I mean, we have all had daughters that wrestled. What would it take for us to say, yeah, you know what, we want to send our daughter there? Is it just the coaches? Because
Okay, coaching for one. Now you have to think, see, like, and this is kind of me repeating what we've talked about in a previous podcast, but you've got to put yourself in a position of one of these fathers in a state like Montana or Utah, or where their girls don't have much opportunity, man. We're spoiled out here in California. We get to look at the schedule, and I say I've got 10 tournaments every weekend to choose which one's the best to send my daughter to. These dudes in Montana got to have their daughters wrestling boys every weekend. These dudes in Utah got to have their daughters wrestling boys damn near every weekend. So the truth is Wyoming Seminary comes to these fathers and is like, hey, we have an opportunity to train your daughter just at freestyle where she's not going to have to wrestle boys anymore. And honestly, that's music to their ears. As a father, I would be like, hell yeah, where do I sign up? Yes, it's going to suck without me having my daughter around for a couple of years, but the end justifies the means. They're going to put her in a better position to go to college, blah, 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 blah. In that sense, it makes perfect sense to me. Like as a dad, I would totally understand why somebody would take their daughter and send them to seminary. Now, to play devil's advocate, this is what you talked about the other podcast, and it was a great point. Is yes, they take that girl from Utah and they're giving her opportunity, but you know what they're doing is they're plucking a legitimate pioneer from that state, someone who could have paved the way for her and tons of other youth girls that grew up watching her that are like, wow, Sage Mortimer is a badass. I want to be just like her, and so
like, how do you grow a garden if you're constantly picking every rose that grows? How do you
yes,
grow a garden?
it's
You can't
difficult. It's
do it.
difficult. If they're
You,
pulling from California, honestly, I don't give a shit because we have a plethora of badass girls. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah, it's gonna hurt us in the long run. We might lose a couple hitters at Fargo, but in the long run, you know what? Big deal. Like I understand why a parent would send their daughter there. But when you are taken from Montana, who has, less than a dozen girls in their state, or and these are just me making up ballpark numbers. I have no idea how many girls are in Montana, but then it does hurt. You're absolutely right. You take two girls from a state that has 20, well, shit, you just took 10% of their wrestling population.
Mhm.
So I see both sides of the coin. It's good and it's bad. So I
I mean, if you want to really grow girls wrestling, you don't sit there and just keep pulling, plucking from it. You grow it. You say, hey,
fucking from it.
look
But
at
if
this
you're one
girl.
of those dads, you want your daughter to have as much opportunity. Honestly, like, yeah, being a trailblazer is cool, but being a trailblazer having to wrestle boys for 4 years sucks. Sending my daughter off to Wyoming Seminary and get her all in this exposure, these coaches, blah, 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 blah. It makes sense. It makes sense from a parent's point of view. I can understand why a parent would do that.
Really, because you're a dad who actually likes his daughter training with boys. So in the long run, and we've talked to Jenny Wong our last episode, we've talked to Julia Salata. I mean, really, okay, yeah, it's unfortunate that some states and what drives the state to have to sanction their girls if you keep moving girls out. If you have that
You're
one
right.
really
You're right.
kick-ass wrestler,
But
then you say,
training
hey,
with boys
look
and,
at
and
this
being
girl.
forced to compete against boys every weekend sucks, dude.
I
And
mean, you
and
look
it's a
at
long
Tatiana
grind in
Padilla,
a high
you
school
look at
season.
Tatiana Padilla, you look at Amanda Hendy, you look at Victoria Anthony, Marcy Van Dusen. These girls that were just they had to wrestle boys. Jackie Cataline. All these girls out there banging with guys. Really, competing. And winning. Those are the kind of people that moms and dads saw and were like, "Whoa, my daughter can wrestle." I know for me personally, like I didn't even know there was girls wrestling until my daughter got to be a freshman. And then halfway through her season, I'm like, oh, there's a girls CIF? I didn't even know about it. And I had seen those girls wrestling, growing up. And I was just like, oh, okay, well, this is good, but you're not going to get those movements if you keep plucking the roses out of every garden before the whole bush is flourishing, and on top of that too, you got to look at it and say, okay, I guess it really comes down to, okay, what's the greater good?
As a parent, you really don't give a damn about that bush flourishing. You care about your rose.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. And that's the bottom line, and it's a selfish way to go, but that's the truth. So that parent in Wyoming, that parent in Florida, that parent in whatever state it is where these girls are getting plucked from, I understand, man. It's opportunity. It's a chance for their daughter to grow. It's a chance for their daughter to develop, and they don't have to go through the grind of wrestling these boys every weekend. These boys in Florida or whatever state X. I'm not trying to pick on any state, but you get to a tournament where you have to wrestle this girl that is a badass. You're gonna go out there and you're gonna. I'm not saying you're going to try to hurt anybody on purpose, but these boys, man, they go after the girls. They feel like they have nothing to gain. You know what I mean? They feel like, hey, if I lose to this girl, I lost to a girl. If I beat this girl, I've got nothing to gain because I'm beating a girl. And I'm not saying it's okay. I think it's a sexist ass piece of crap attitude, but it's the way it is. And I watch it at tournaments every day. And that's why I'm such a strong advocate of, yes, we practice with boys, but I don't, since my daughter started her freshman year of high school, I'm a staunch advocate of not having them wrestle against the boys.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it gets to a point. I mean, and that's another subject for another day, is at what point do you cut your girls off from wrestling boys, competing against boys you don't know? That was my biggest fear, because my daughter growing up, watching me coach and being in the room with wrestlers that I coached who feared their coach, I knew they weren't going to hurt her. But the second I had to put her on the mat with a boy that I don't know, who doesn't know her, that doesn't care how her feelings are, and I mean, she had her nose broke, she had her bones broke, she was out there fighting, and I see the benefit of it, but I also see the other side of it. So, but I don't think that institutionalizing something so where parents could avoid and states could avoid sanction it because you constantly are keeping those numbers down is going to be, I mean, obviously I don't think it's an issue yet.
Well, like I said, it's like you just said, it's a whole nother show. But if you look at what happened to the numbers in Hawaii and Texas, since they actually mandated the separation.
California.
Oh, but California, we haven't mandated separation yet. We have not told the boys they can't wrestle girls yet, or the girls they can't enter boys tournaments yet. Hawaii and Texas have told them that, and we're talking about huge growth, growth. And I think girls wrestling in California would even take that next step. I mean, yes, it's going to suck for those schools in the north section that like to send their girls to JV tournaments to wrestle the boys every weekend. Well, you know what? I'm sorry. You're going to have to get some more staff. You're going to have to do a little more travel. The growth of girls wrestling is coming, and this is a part of it.
Well, LA City section is way ahead of the curve. They've been like 4 years already where they've mandated like girls don't wrestle boys, at least in their section.
The problem with Texas and Hawaii is you can't even practice in a high school room with somebody of the opposite sex either, which poses a huge problem for the disparity between like a really good girl in the room and then you have a not very good girl.
That might be the case with Texas, but that's not the case with Hawaii. Everything is ran together in Hawaii. Their teams.
It is with Texas. Texas for sure. You got Bible Belt.
Their teams are ran in unison. They have they don't have a girls team and a boys team.
They don't care if you identify as somebody else. They're like, no, you go back. I don't care if you're on steroids. You go back.
That's right.
It's like, you juiced up, just and it's like, nope, go back and get a girl's arm ripped off. I actually saw that too. They like literally, that was pretty wild to be honest. But actually, their freestyle, like they did allow her to go to him. Anyhow, but yeah, that to me, when you separate it, if that seems to be what grows it all the time. Grows it every single time. They separate it, and the girls know they have more of their own thing. It gets the parents out the way. It gets the girls' apprehensions out the way, and it does, really does make it grow overall. But again, how are these schools recruiting? I mean, what's their criteria? Are they just looking at the Fargo bracket and saying, you know what, you live close by, or is it, honestly, they have probably one of the biggest ins possible. Okay. And this is the problem. This is not a problem, but this is the issue with a lot of even our own California national team coaches. You have people who coach at a school, but also run either state or national camps or are at them. And hey, how you doing? Yeah, I coach over here. What do you say? Come on over. And how do you compete with that? you know, and is it fair? You know, I mean, Mario, I mean, when you were coaching, how would you compete with somebody who's at Wyoming Seminary? They have access to girls at training camps, the top girls, and they're like, hey, come on over. You know, you don't even got to worry about wrestling. You know, they have that upper hand, and it is an upper hand even.
No, you're right. Absolutely, absolutely, it is.
So how would you compete with that? I mean, should we even try to compete with that, or should we just
Well,
put our hands
I
up?
think teams already are. I mean, they don't have a national champion at every weight class. You know what I'm saying? If they came to California and got into a dual meet with Selma, I could bet my bottom dollar Selma give them the good old Cali beatdown. You know, so I don't. I think, you know, hey, congratulations, you have your team and everything, but it's definitely not the best team in the nation. Team Venom from New York already beat them at the Cornell duels last year. So let's just, you know, I don't think they're necessarily going out and getting the top girls in the nation. They're getting the geographically close ones, the ones that are a little more convenient, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Hang on. Are you sure they beat them? I think somebody has the trophy.
That's a ouch,
I don't
ouch,
know. I think I saw a picture of that trophy case. You sure about
ouch,
that?
ouch. Seminary may still have that trophy, but I'm telling you right now, Team Venom beat them that night. They may have got pencil whipped a little bit, but it's okay.
I don't know about that. I gotta double check that trophy case. I heard some rumors about that one, but
Oh, good stuff.
I mean, and that leads to another subject. I mean, I know, you know, CIF's kind of taken a different approach now with you know, transfers and stuff like that. You know, when you have these super teams like that, I mean, you don't have them just nationally like that, where it's seminary bringing girls across the country. It's also in the state. You know, I mean, is that the right thing? Should we be doing like is CIF taking the right approach? I mean, for years we've seen people managing to navigate the system, managing to do some pretty crazy things, you know. And do you think that's the best thing? Man, did I stump Mario or what? He's just like holding. He's just holding. Good Lord, son.
I think
You
that
don't have an opinion? Come on now.
no, he's got an opinion, definitely. I think that in my opinion, the program recruits itself, the coaches recruit themselves. Kids want to be with winners, right? They're sick and tired of being the only girl on their team or the best girl on their team and getting no team support, anything. They go to the tournament they sit by themselves, you know, because a couple new girls are going to JV girls tournaments. They're going to varsity one. They're struggling for coaches. Where they go look over here to this team that has, you know, a bunch of girls. There's a really good girl in the weight class right next to her that she'll have a great drilling partner all year long, you know, or for the next 2 or 3 years. It's a natural thing to want to go to be a part of a winning thing.
So you think that girls with no relationship who have never been talked to are taking that risk and just strutting into school X like, oh, I'm gonna be the best. You know,
No,
I don't know about that. I had a coach tell
Here's the
me,
truth. Here's the truth, man. No coach, club or otherwise, should ever have to feel bad for girls or boys wanting to be a part of their program. Period. Dot. And these coaches that are out there complaining or wondering why and this and that, you know what? They should take a look in the mirror and wondering why they're losing kids. Why are kids going from your program to program X? Why are kids hopping on a train and driving to the other side of Los Angeles to go to someone else's program that I don't, you know what I mean? So tell me, why are they doing that? It's not, I'm not blaming the coach where the girls are landing or the boys are landing. I'm blaming the original coach. If you're taking care of your kids, if you're taking care of your wrestlers, they're not going to go anywhere.
Interesting.
wow.
Now I do know there's some coaches who have sold some kids on a bag of no goods. It's like, what? Like, wow, that's pretty interesting. But I mean, interesting takes on this. You know, I had a coach who was talking to my daughter, and they said, you know, we don't recruit kids, we recruit coaches. And it's like, oh, so I come coach there, and my kid comes with me. Interesting. You know, that was probably one of the most interesting positions I'd ever seen. I was like, oh, that's
I
interesting.
spend my efforts on getting my team better. the rest is just gravy. You know what I mean? If kids want to
They're
come be a
recruiting or
part of my,
otherwise, or
if they want to come be a part of my team, that's, you know what I mean. But that's it.
because I mean that's the thing too. It's like, okay, I mean, yeah, we see it, all the time. It's like all of a sudden they're chumming up. They're all of a sudden this girl who didn't have any teammate is on Instagram with these girls from these schools, and then it's like, oh, boop. So for me personally, I think CIF is taking the right approach. Like, why hide it? You know what I'm saying? Like, what does it matter? Like I agree with you in that sense of like, if you're taking care of your kids, they'll stay. They'll know that you have their back. You're giving them
Go try to recruit my swamp monsters to your club. I invite you, cordially invite you. Talk to all of them. Invite all of them. You know what I'm saying? Because the truth
here's the thing.
is that you take care of your kids,
I
they
have
ain't going
never.
nowhere. I'm not talking to you. I'm just saying in general.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I've never went after a kid who already has a club. And I've had people ask me like, "Hey, what about these two girls?" And I'm like, "Aren't they with so and so?" And they're like, "Well, And I'm like, "Look, not looking for any drama. If they have support, I've had coaches before tell me, they coached at a high school before they moved on, and they were like, oh, I had girls from this school, they want to come, but they have a coach, so I don't want to take from them. And I'm like, great, but then I see that coach later recruiting for other schools, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting, but yeah, I mean, I think CIF has the right approach. I think we spend way too much time, way too much money requiring people to jump through way too many hoops. You know what? If they want to go, let them go. And it is what it is. You hear people complaining all the time, but at the end of the day, yeah, you take care of your kids. Your kids are going to stick by you. Your kids know you'll walk through fire for them. They're going to stick by you 100%, but on the other side of that too, what do you guys think about, like, I mean, we tried to touch base on this last podcast, but it was just Josh and I, but I'll ask this to Mario, like, how do you feel about, I don't know when we switched to this current format that we see in high school. I could say I see it more in girls and boys because I'm strictly with girls now. I don't coach a lot of boys, but where the high school coaches are controlling the entire year, even at times when high school coaches don't want to go to specific events. They don't want to go to specific organizations. They don't want to go to, compete with specific schools.
It's funny on the opposite side, Ramos. I think that it's less than it was when I was growing up in the 90s and early 2000s. I feel like coaches were more controlling now. I think they're more open to sending their kids to traveling clubs and stuff like that because they're married and they got their own wife at home and they don't want to have to coach 12 months out of the year, so they have no problem sending their kids to the swamp. I'm very gracious that I have some high school coaches that I work with that send me their kids because they know I'm gonna coach them well in the off season, and when they return to their high school in the fall, they're gonna go out there and bust their ass. So I actually feel it's a little bit on the opposite side of that. I feel like coaches have kind of released the reins a little bit in the off season and let their kids go to other clubs, and I think it's great. I think we all learn more from the more variety of coaching that we get. I learn every time I go to someone else's wrestling room. So
But here's my thing too is like, okay, knowing what you know about Southern California and how concentrated the numbers are, like, I mean, on a weekend tournament where there's only one tournament, maybe two, but one, for sure, how many girls would you expect to be there knowing how many girls wrestle in Southern California?
Hopefully at least 8 girl brackets, right?
Okay, at least bracket of 8, 14 weight classes.
Yeah.
Okay, so 80, 100 and, okay, 130 girls maybe? 120 girls?
You'd hope.
So, I mean, I'll be honest, like, yeah, you know what, that's about what they get. I know Mike, like when
wow, that's impressive.
when Jim
That's
Lane,
way better than the numbers we do up here at the Sacramento area events.
Yeah, but it's horrible. In my opinion, it's horrible.
Yeah,
you should have hundreds of girls when there's one tournament. You should have hundreds for the numbers.
I mean, you go to Orange County, and they got 8 girls total.
All right. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but I'm telling you, the way to fix this is to assign a women's director for each individual association. Have an Orange County women's director, have a LAW women's director, and then that way everyone is accountable. And then when you show up at the tournament on Saturday and there's 4 girls in the bracket, you can look at the director and be like, dude, what the hell? Why is there only 4 girls here? So, I mean, I
will say this, though. When you run the girls tournament with the boys tournament, the girls are going to be second-class citizens, and they know that going in.
Not if you do it right, man. It
They,
doesn't have to be
but
that way. We always
this is
assume
what's
that.
happening, though. This is what's happening. Josh, just a question, okay? A couple weeks back, and I'm not beating up on any association or anything like that, and I won't even name the association, but there was a tournament in Orange County. One of the couple of the girls that come to Silmar and train in the off season were there. They didn't start their matches until 3. Then they
I'll tell you where that was. That was actually as Orange County Wrestling Coaches Association Summer League finals, and they didn't start the girls brackets till like 1:30, 2 o'clock, and they got out of there like 4 o'clock. They should have just ran the girls right away, got them out, and then made a good experience for everybody, and then because they had girls, boys, JV, Frosh Soft also, I think. And they had a lot of kids there.
Yeah, you got like 800 kids there. You got maybe 40 girls. You could have got them out of the way and had just ran your tournament all day, and it would have been fine. But this is why the numbers are low. And Mario, this is what I mean. They have a women's director, from my understanding, but it's just no, they don't. Okay, they did for a while, but they don't anymore. But I think that was why they don't have women's director anymore, because the people who were the women's director said, you know what, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the way this is being run. You won't listen to us. You're just doing things the way you're going to do them. This isn't going to grow. I'm out of here.
Yeah,
And and it's tough, but I would think, because I know how much wrestling there is, and I know how big these teams are. When you're in the San Gabriel Valley and you have, the teams that you have, and I know off the top of your head, I know, Josh, you can name 4 or 5 schools with at least 30 girls per team. And that in itself is over 130, 150 girls. Then you can go in and start throwing in the individual. So you should have, in my opinion, we should be able to get at least 200 girls to a tournament and have them scrapping it out. But that, but again, coaches are controlling things, and they're
I'd be ecstatic if we could get 100 up here at a Sawa tournament.
But that's the thing. Like, do you guys think that having the girls only train with their high school coaches all year long is a good thing?
Because a lot of high school coaches don't even really know the freestyle game, So I think there's a lot of coaches that aren't familiar with leg laces and gut wrenches and just locking hands, and there's nothing wrong with that, and they don't want to be, because they want their break. Cool, man. Go take your break, take the family time, send your kid to the Swamp Monster Wrestling Club, and I'll teach them how to leg lace and roll girls across the mat. No big deal.
Well, circling back to that, I know I'm not going to call them successful. There's a club, there's actually a high school team that their coach is boys. He's very fierce about, you will only wrestle at our school. Actually punishes kids for going to outside clubs to go work out. They're always like top 2 or 3 in CIF, but they never get much further than that. They're a tough dual team, all that. And literally they had a state finalist and a state champion transfer out of their school, and a couple others that are in the last 5 years. They've had those kids transfer out. So they get a high rate of transfers, because when you're limiting a really good kid at a certain level, they're going to go find that other place. Their dads are the crazy dads. They don't care what the coach says. They want their kid to get better. They want that one rose to get better. They don't care about the whole bush.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. Like, you look at the boys' side. The Valencia boys didn't have just one coach. Those guys were everywhere. Pico is the same way. Those are some of the biggest names that I could think of. And it's surprising to me that people still have this mindset of like, and the excuses that you hear is ridiculous. I don't want to have to unteach bad technique.
Yeah.
Really? Like, that's your excuse? Like, tweak it. I don't know anybody. I don't know if there's any coach that I've ever come across that has ever known everything.
That's exactly it. So that's the thing. Different coaches are better at different positions. Some guys are great at hand fighting. Some guys are great at top bottom game. Some guys are better at freestyle. And there's nothing wrong with that. There is not a coach out there that is an A+ in every aspect of the game. And so why not try to get a variety of coaching? I think that's foolish to try to lock yourself down to one thing. So now you've just learned one style, and if someone can learn how to beat that one style, you're a done deal. So you need to have a plan B and a plan C and a plan D and a plan X. You know what I'm saying? Like there's why would you limit yourself? I think it's foolish.
I think it's important. And I mean, well, I know like sometimes I know there's like some areas that are coming up with a plan S and a plan O and a plan T. Because I know up in Sacramento, there's somebody that just moved in running practice this week, isn't there?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Really?
Come
Josh,
on, if you've been,
I've got a couple buddies of mine that are up visiting, and
anybody that's been on social
trying to figure it
media,
out.
anybody that's been on social media knows that the Wolf Jeff Estrada has relocated up to Sacramento area. It's gonna be interesting. He might even bring some more Greco to the girls and boys side of things up there. I know he's
Very
pretty
exciting for what's coming. Definitely looking forward to see our hand fighting and our upper body work come along. It's going to be great. It's exactly what I was talking about bringing in other styles and other techniques and other fantastic technicians to help develop.
He brought Gregerson with him too.
He brought Jake Gregerson with him too. So one of the best you can get your hands on out here. So it's going to be exciting. I mean, Gregerson's running practice tomorrow at the Swamp at 6 p.m. And it's just the beginning of something beautiful here in Sacramento. Hopefully we can take over.
How long is the drive from Sacramento to Selma?
Pretty far. I'm guessing about a 3.5 hour drive.
That's a long commute for a kid to be making. But I mean, hey, she's commuting from Colorado, so I guess it's less than it was.
A long commute. I don't know nothing about nothing when it comes to the kids. I just know that Jeff is up here and he's helping out, and we appreciate it.
Oh, interesting. I mean, hey, that's good for the area. That's for sure. I mean, he's had some. I mean, his daughter's a stud. She's got some studs coming through.
Yeah, the little ones are
daughters,
pretty decent too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's going to be interesting for the area, but yeah, I mean, that just seems like a long commute.
We're excited. It gives a little spark of life into wrestling in the Sacramento area, and it's just the beginning of some beautiful things. I can tell you one thing.
The Swamp of Thunder.
Everyone, I don't know about that yet, but everyone out here in the NorCal area, Bay Area, Fresno, all the way down to you guys in LA, be on alert because we're taking the state over. It's coming. We're doing it from Greco. We're doing it from folk style. We're doing it from freestyle. It's going down. It's going down.
Very interesting. I mean, I must say, I like that. You're taking over the state.
We're taking it over, man. We're taking it over from all angles. From all angles. And we probably won't stop at the state. We probably won't stop at state lines.
Wow.
Yeah. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I don't know about you, Ramos, but I'm saying challenge accepted.
Anybody who knows me, and I think probably one of the things, I'm always called an asshole, but I think one of the things everybody always complains is that I'm a little too competitive. But I got that plaque right now, so yeah, I'll take that challenge. I'm not sure.
We'll see you.
I'm always game. I mean, I think it makes it fun.
It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
Wasn't.
I think I've already told you. I plan on sitting out. I'm not gonna be in the high school scene this year. I'm just gonna focus on the club side a little bit more, and it's gonna be entertaining. It's gonna be entertaining.
So, yeah. So, with that being said, we'll move on.
So Mario, at 6 p.m., where would somebody go at 6 p.m.? What high school would they be going to?
At 6 p.m., we will be at El Camino High School in Sacramento. Everyone is welcome. Swamp time. You know how we get down.
Huh. Okay. Well, I'm excited to see how it goes, how it turns out. Actually, I'm excited more to see you work with somebody consistently and not have to worry about, I don't know,
wow.
to abandon, your crown. Oh, sorry. I mean, I don't want there to be a clash. I'm just saying, I want everything to work out good for you because you're working hard there.
I like it.
So did the cool bus come with them, or do you have to still buy a bus?
Tow it in. If you have to tow it in. I don't know. Let me preface this.
Just
Okay?
getting bigger and bigger. Just getting bigger and bigger.
Let me just preface this. I don't know Jeff. I don't know him. He friend requested me. We haven't spoken or anything like that. He seems like he's got it going on. He's a character, that's for sure. I could see where Mario draws his inspiration. I think that's putting it lightly. But if there was ever such a mini me, I mean, hey, Mario, why buy a bus, right? When you could just have somebody who has a bus come moving over, right? That's the smart way to go about it. So, congratulations on that, Mario. Nice to know you brought in some.
I'll be sure to chuck the deuce as we're driving by in the bus.
So, as you're pushing it, or as you're getting towed? I'm just curious. But I would say I see you guys in Canada. But so girls rankings. Let's talk about girls rankings here for a second, because we're going to be doing our own girls rankings, and I think we should probably be talking about. Sorry, you guys are having a hard time. So we're going to be doing them now. I would like to establish some kind of criteria ahead of time. Okay. And this is something I think that plagues a lot of rankings, coming in, is people get rankings, and let's be clear here. These are not seeds. Okay. These are rankings. So the difference between a seed and a ranking is how you kind of predict how something will end up, versus a seed is using a formula based on specific parameters to, keep people away from each other. That's all it is. It's not necessarily trying to predict the final outcome. It's just based on this criteria. These girls need to be apart from each other. Am I right on this, guys?
Yeah, you're right. And in Southern California, we've been very fortunate for the last, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so. We've had really good girls rankings in Southern California.
How's that working out for your seeding meetings?
No, it's not working out at all.
8 seed, a third of the state goes 8 seed. That tournament must have been nailed. Did you have seminary there?
They're coming next year.
It's funny how you can have fantastic rankings in the southern section all year, and then it sounds like Ray Charles wrote out your seating meeting when it comes down to Masters.
They played 52 pickup for the seats.
That's what they did. We've had rankings. I don't know about the North if they've had rankings up there. We've actually had rankings that come out weekly or every couple weeks. It's a tool. I'm not saying it's perfect. It definitely didn't reflect final CIF Masters seeds, but
very much. I don't think we got ahead of. My girl didn't get higher than like a 6th ranking all year. Finished number 2 in the state. Good job with those rankings.
Yeah. So, and which that person that was doing the rankings decided he's not doing rankings anymore. So we'll step in and maybe hopefully try to give a better service, and have a set criteria, not just how you feel that week.
Well, so, I mean, that's kind of rough.
Is it your hope that you doing the rankings will help your seating when it comes time?
Hey, think about this. Josh had not only the ranker at his school working it, his daughter's club coach is also at the seating meetings and got no love on either side. So nobody can Josh Rybeck.
Hey, you got
special treatment, okay?
Seating doesn't matter. You got to wrestle and you got to win it, right?
Seating? What? You had head-to-head on some of these girls that got seated over you, bro. How do you lose that?
Hey, but if you talk to that same club coach, they'll say head-to-head doesn't matter.
Head-to-head doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You only saw them at one tournament.
Just let that
sit for a second. At one tournament, so head-to-head doesn't matter. You only saw one tournament.
Oh my gosh, you are out of your freaking mind. Who did she pull the first round?
Angie Gomez.
Oh!
It was actually. Hey, it was
a deep water with a car battery around your neck.
It was a semi close match. I think it was like 8-2, 10-4, something like that. And
it was tied at the beginning of the match.
Yeah, it was tied at the beginning of the match.
Oh, that is fantastic. That is fantastic. Good looking out for your freaking.
Yeah, nobody could say Josh Rybeck gets special privilege. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, actually, we're going to request not to be seated at all next year.
Can we just be drawn?
Just draw
us in. We do not want to be seated.
It couldn't get any worse.
Nope, exactly.
unless you drew into a medical forfeit right off the bat. But
You just pick one of those unseeded girls in the bracket and be like, "Oh, we lost to her. We
Yeah.
lost head to head to her."
and the coach is just happy that their kid won because they missed that win.
Yes.
But I think
Well, but that's a different Oprah because that's a seating committee. Not everyone is invited to go to that.
behind closed doors.
It's behind closed doors. You're not invited. It's a lock, stock, and smoke and barrel.
But did you question your club coach about what happens? Did you say anything, or did you just accept your kid getting tossed out there?
Hey, will Richard Ramos ever pass up a chance to take a shot at Mike Duran? Let's just let that out there. Will he ever pass that shit up? He'll never pass that shit up.
Let me just hold on. Let me just say this. From when it was so secretive, the whole thing, that from when I found out when brackets finally got posted to walking in, I think I questioned 12 to 14 people that I knew and said, what the hell? And then I went to Glenn Martinez, not about the seed, but I was like, this can't happen. Like, because there were some other seeds that were even way worse than us, where somebody actually had a head-to-head win against somebody and they completely overlooked it and knew that win was there, but still seeded the person ahead. And I think it was later in the night that they spent an hour and a half. I think they spent like an hour on 101s trying to sort that one out. And then as it got further, they kind of probably got tired and spent a little less effort on that, would be my guess.
So hang on. So what weight did your daughter wrestle?
101.
Good Lord. So then they clearly need to do this like in days. Like they need to okay, Monday we're going through these weights, Tuesday we're going, because that is not fair. Because we had a win over the girl who took second in state in the weight class below us because we were 1-1 against her, but we had pretty dominant win. And we still got seeded number 4, put up against Bowman in the semis. And we ended up being 1-2 in the state. And then the girl forfeited the finals and then just went home. And it was like, we beat that girl too. We had a head-to-head over, and it was just like, oh God, it was terrible. So with that being said, are you saying
you wouldn't want to wrestle Bowman in the semis? What's wrong with you?
How dare I, right? Well, I'm not the one who said, hey, you got to wrestle the matches. I'm like, no, I'm realistic, okay? I'm realistic. I'm trying to save my kid as much face as possible, get her into the finals, and call it a day. Do you know, actually, the funny story, CDME story real quick. So I'm coaching at Brentwood School, right? And we got this kid, and it's just nails a stud. His name's Anthony Maselli. And Maselli is in the same weight class as the returning CIF champion from the year before, and he's in our league, okay? Kid from Alamany. And we wrestle him in the duel, and we beat him in the duel, right? Wrestle him at league finals, lose in double overtime. Dang it. Going to CIF. So Vinny Pisani is in our weight class. So obviously Pisani's number 1. It's the year Pisani won state. Okay, so he's number 1. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna fight for that 3 because we already lost to the returning CIF champ. So returning CIF champ is number 2. Okay, number 2. So I'm like, okay, well, we got the 3. So it's between us, and then Lawson and El Dorado raises his hand and says, I got a 3. And so they go, who's your 3? Oh, he's this kid. I forget the kid's name. And they said, okay. And I said, wait. We have a win over the returning CIF champ. And he goes, my kid's wrestled Pisani 4 times this year. And I said, okay, how many times has he won? And he goes, Pisani's undefeated. It's on the board, right? And he's like, well, none. And I was like, then why do you want your kid to have the 3? And he's like, well, because we've wrestled him 3 times. And the last time it was only a major. And I was like, you're arguing the strength of a loss. And he's like, well, yeah. I go, well, has he wrestled the CIF champ? No. Has he beat any of the CIF placers? No. Then why do you get the 3? He's like, well, we'll just take it to a vote then. And we're in Braille Linda High School. Okay. Why would I take it to a vote? First of all, you have a criteria right there. I know I'm in the middle of the shithole. I'm like, why? Why do we got to take it to a vote? After like 20 minutes of arguing with him, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to lose this anyways. So screw it. Whatever, Lawson. You're afraid to wrestle. I get it. His kid loses like in the 3rd round anyways. Doesn't even place. It's like pissed me off though. I lost on the strength of a loss. take that to the bank. I know you guys.
No, you
have
lost on the vote. You lost on that vote criteria,
Yeah, that's
which
bullshit.
should
You knew
not
you weren't
be.
getting
Gone
those
there.
votes. You knew
Shouldn't
you
even
weren't
go
getting
there.
those votes.
It's worst. Anyhow, first criteria is going to be what, fellas? Returning state
Returning
placer.
state champ. Returning state champ. That's
State
number one.
champ, state placer. Then
Masters.
Masters champ,
Masters champ.
place.
Masters place.
I guess it Masters performance. You know what I mean? Then divisionals performance, and then major tournament.
now, what happens if you have a situation where a girl places, let's say she places second in her section, she places fourth, and the champ places fifth. They didn't wrestle each other though, and now you have a head-to-head where she lost to her the week before.
You go with the head-to-head. You have to. This is wrestling.
So it would be head-to-head.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure we establish this so the people who are watching this will understand where we're coming from. Now, big question. Last year, Josh Rybeck caught some heat. Because one, the dozer, Cheyenne Bowman's at his tournament, and Josh Rybeck's like number one, and people did not like it. Now, Josh, obviously we know where you sit on this. So you think just common sense. Bowman got the one. What do you feel about it, Mario?
It's a tough call, man, because it's like when it comes to Bowman, it's like obviously I know I've been watching her. I probably would have given her the number one too, but there were some other tournaments throughout the season where freshman incoming girls were seeded number one, and there were other state qualifiers and placers in that bracket. So I was like, that's a tough one. You know, I mean, in Bowman's case,
I'll tell you how I think specifically, and I never hold back on this. I've always been very clear with it. Since you brought up Duran's name, I've told Duran this too in the past. You let the freshmen earn their seed, period. If they come in and I mean, whether you have Jennifer Soto, whether you got Ahmet, whether you got any other stud that you have out there, Freitas, you know, any of these incoming studs that are coming in, okay, you let them earn their seat. Let them earn their ranking. Don't just give it to them.
Right. So let me ask you this. How long do you let them earn their ranking for? What if they have won the last four? Some of my tournaments later in the year, they've won the last four tournaments, 5 tournaments undefeated, go win now for my tournament, come, and then the seeding committee, which
I mean, Bowman
whatever two people decided. How do you hold on?
Division, bro.
How do you seed Valdivia, who Rich is not on here? How do you seed her 8th at our tournament? It's a tough tournament, but it's not 8th. It screws up the it screws. How long do you let that freshman stud have to earn it?
That's
the whole thing.
That is a perfect point. And here's my biggest thing, and I've always said this: you cannot allow wrestlers to sit on their seed. If you don't wrestle by January 7th, you're out. Like, no, we're not letting you sit on your seed. And I hope that you guys will agree with me on that. So when we do our rankings, we're not letting people sit on their seed. You cannot sit on your seed. You got to defend that seed. Now, if a freshman comes in and they hit those big tournaments, and of course, I'm going to do my tournament rankings this year again. And I know Mario's talked about, we're going to lay out like our fantasy schedule where if you want to be ranked by us, you got to hit these tournaments. This is where we're going to count them. But if you hit up,
or they'll hold more weight.
Yeah, you know, we got to hit up, and I'll just throw out last year's tournaments, okay? The ones that you know are going to be big hitters, okay? If you want an early tournament, you got to hit up Carter. You got to hit up, and Mario, I'm not disrespecting the North or Northern schools or sections. These are just our sections. Carter, you got to hit up La Puente. You got to hit up Corona. You got to hit up Napa. You got to hit up, POC, whatever. You got to hit up those tournaments. And if you hit those tournaments up and there's state placers in the bracket or they are in other weight classes, it's at your weight. There's no way that I'm going to take into account, okay, Josh tells me his daughter's going 101s and she's been 111 all year. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to rank her at 101. No, until you make that weight, you're not going to be ranked at that weight until you make that weight. So I don't know how do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, it's a little more tedious on moving people around, and then you've done the research at 111, and
Click and
no, but
drag.
I'm just saying, like, you've done all the stuff, and then two people move at the same time, or one waits a week, see where everything flies. What do you
Yeah.
think, Mario?
I mean,
Well, first of all, let's put this out there. My daughter ain't gonna make 101 anymore. So how about yours? How about yours, Mario?
Hey, well, my daughter never has, so don't even worry about that. No, I mean, I'm kind of with Ramos. I don't think you should be getting seated at your weight. Now, I mean, if we're 2 tournaments into the season and your hydration can't let you cut down to your 101 in your daughter's case, Josh, then I guess that's one thing. But yeah, man, if we're in January and you haven't made your weight once yet, I think it's pretty safe to say you should be ranked at whatever weight you've been predominantly wrestling your tournaments. Now, at the end of the season, if we see, you drop for Napa and the tournament after that you stay down and the tournament after that you stay, well then we'll change your weight class on the ranking side, But as far as yeah, you're gonna get ranked where you wrestle. If you start the season up, we're gonna rank you up.
Yeah, and maybe we only update the rankings every 2 weeks or something like that. So if somebody drops down for one tournament and then goes back up the next week, it's like, why are we going to drop you right away? You got to have some meat at that weight class before we can move you down there.
Yeah.
So just make it a little easier on us. But yeah, I think that's probably the good criteria to go with. Is state champ, state placer, section placing, head to head, and then going from there. I don't like going with common sense because common sense isn't always common. So let's just have people earn their ranking and no sitting on their seeds, no running. Oh, let me ask you this. I'm gonna start a fire with this one right here. Okay, people who run. So you got girl A wrestling girl B in the finals. Girl B has criteria over girl A, and she's like, "I'm hurt." She won her semis match, obviously good enough to wrestle that. So
yeah, you lose you take that as a loss.
Yes,
In my book, that's a loss.
To me, that facilitates more girls hitting head to head. Hey, you take if you're legitimately hurt, your coach needs to protect you anyways. Because I hear that argument all the time. Oh well, you don't want kids going out there and taking the risk. Look, if your kid is legitimately hurt, you need to protect your athlete, and then go chase down that matchup. And guess what? If they back down to you, then you just get that win back.
Here's the thing, though. In theory, you can look at that bracket and be like, "Hey, this girl took third and this girl took fourth." You know what I mean? So you do get the ranking status. Yeah, you don't get the head-to-head because so-and-so was quote-unquote hurt, but you do get the higher placing at tournament X, whatever event it was, So they do take a little bit of a hit for it,
No, because they've always historically let people protect their seed. There was an instance where I'll save it for another time. Never mind. It's a long story. But I got threatened once as a coach. As a coach, I got threatened. Okay, real quick. I was in Costa Rica on my honeymoon. Okay. And I had a girl who took second in state, and Alyssa LaFrancis had just came in and she was wrestling for West Covina High School. And I told my girl, hey, don't go in, just chill out. I'm only gonna be gone for 10 days. Like, it's not a big deal. Just chill out. She was an animal. Her dad was a great dad, dude. We could bump his kid up 50 pounds. He'd be like, go get it. He was awesome. Male or female. He'd be like, go get it. Greg Williams, you were awesome, dad, just so you know. So she goes and wrestles and she loses 2-1 to LaFrancis in the finals. So I hear about this when I'm in Costa Rica and I'm losing my mind. I'm like, this is ridiculous. We do not lose to a freshman. I don't care how good she is. So I fly in from Costa Rica. I get home. I put my bags down. I jump on my motorcycle and I'm hauling ass down to San Diego for the Duels of Steel with Trevor Kiefer used to host at Steel Canyon. So before I go there, I used to be friends with the coaches at West Covina. And I call them like, hey, just so you know, I'm coming down and it's for that matchup. And then they were like, all right, hey, if we meet up. And I'm like, just so you know, I'm being very straight up. Again, that overly competitive person that people hate. So I'm on my motorcycle and I'm tucked. And I'm not going to say how fast I was going because I don't know if the statute of limitations is up, but I'm tucked. And I blow past West Covina's bus. I get down there and the coach gets off the bus. And I said, hey, just so you know, I'm here for that matchup. So on this time, I'm actually on Mike Duran's team because he didn't have a full team at the time. We stick my girl in there. In the second round, we end up getting to wrestle West Covina. And we're there. We're ready to go. And they sit her. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I came all the way down to San Diego right off of a plane, literally, and you're going to sit her? Like this, we're here for this matchup. And they're like, nope. So the next day I got a phone call, and I'm good friends with AJ, and there was no hard feelings. It was just looking for a match. And but the coaches took offense to the fact that we're friends and I'm challenging them. And I said, look, here's the thing. I will always find the matchup for my kid. We will never back down, especially when you got a girl like that kid, because that kid was an animal. Francis was an animal. They were going to blow through the whole season with no matchups. So I want that matchup, you know? And, they proceeded to tell me, like, we'll sit my girl all year and just sit on our seat if we want to. And luckily they didn't. The CIF, they ended up wrestling each other, and then they wrestled at state. And we beat her at CIF, lost her at state. And Alyssa went on to be a 4-time state champ, and my girl was a 3-time runner-up. But anyhow, last topic of the night. Now, I would like...
I'm getting tired, man.
Oh, suck it up, Buttercup. I've been up since 2 a.m. Do I seem to be a little tired? Anyhow, last topic. I want to, every now and then, I want to cross the gender line. I don't want to necessarily I want the girls to also seek out the boys' side too, because it's exciting. We got to see one Jordan Burroughs wrestle the Italian/Cuban Frank Chamizo at the Yasudago tournament.
Slash American.
Yeah, okay. That's another topic. And the score ends 10-10, and there's criteria. Okay. For me personally, it's expected of you as a wrestler. Your coaches should be sharp enough to know what criteria is, and you got to go get it. Okay. People complain that there needs to be overtime. I disagree. To me, you're just going to make wrestling boring. There's nothing more exciting than watching Jordan Burroughs chase down a takedown in the last 5 seconds. And he got to his legs, and in the last 10 seconds, he got to his legs 3 times. I mean, amazing. Versus waiting for overtime and waiting for a shot. To me, the criteria keeps wrestling exciting. Josh?
All right. Check it out.
On that criteria,
I intentionally did that, Mario, because you were wound up.
I was ready.
So what makes the first point scored any less important than the last point scored?
Because you're stalling the match out.
Well, so why are you punishing the guy that scored first instead of
continue to wrestle?
What makes 4 points? I know what USA Wrestling thinks, or UWW is. What makes 4 points any more important besides trying to encourage throws rather than 2 2s?
Because you want to make it exciting. You want to make it
so
exciting.
A double, a Jordan Burroughs double to their belly is less exciting than a lateral drop.
Yes.
A Jordan Burroughs double to somebody's back is a lot more exciting than a Jordan Burroughs double to somebody bellying out. A Jordan Burroughs double, picking him up, locking the arm, and taking him backwards is a lot more exciting than a Jordan Burroughs double. To the casual fan. To the casual fan. To somebody whose daughter just started wrestling and they're going to check this out really quick, you're going to get, hey, come look at this. You're going to get them calling their son in, their daughter in, their wife in. You're going to get that reposted up on Facebook more than a Jordan Burroughs double to the belly.
Mario, what do you think?
Okay, well, I'd like to point this out first and foremost.
Okay, we got to go. Time's up. Mario.
Check it out. Criteria has been a part of freestyle wrestling for quite some time now. And no one has ever given a shit until Jordan Burroughs lost. Let's be honest here. Going into that match, Jordan Burroughs knew about criteria. His coaches knew about criteria. I knew about criteria. Josh knew about criteria. Ramos knew about criteria. Nobody was crying about criteria until Jordan Burroughs lost. So just let that sit for a second, okay? Now, to move on for a solution, I also think criteria is kind of stupid. I would much rather them wrestle a sudden death overtime. However, this goes along the lines of me not liking the push-out rule. I don't want a sudden death overtime decided by some dude sumo wrestling some other dude's ass off the mat. So if I'm going sudden death, I want sudden death overtime must win by a takedown. And that would be my way to fix the problem.
Yeah, but you'd have a 20-hour match sometimes.
Exactly.
You know what though? If it's Jordan Burroughs and Chamizo, I'll watch that shit for 1,000 minutes.
1,000 minutes.
Yeah, I hated the clinch rule. I hate the overtime rule. Just long, boring, no scoring. It's soccer on a mat. That's all it is. You're just waiting for one guy to get a PK. No thanks.
You
Give me
remember that one? I know it was folk style, but you remember that 30-minute scramble in Flow Wrestling a few years back? It was
you.
off the hook, bro. I would take Jordan Burroughs and Chamizo scrambling and hopping out of each other's takedowns for 20 minutes. You're telling me that's not exciting? That's about as good as you can get. You know what I mean?
You need to go back and watch some tape on overtime matches. It was watching paint dry. When Kurt Angle won his Olympic gold medal on a judge's decision,
Yes, I've watched that. I grew up watching that match, man. Come on, I know.
snooze. So
I know.
that's the problem. Is that what we saw with the clinch is that people start to game the system. They learn the system and then they game the system. So that would be my only problem with
That's
it.
why overtime will be beautiful. Overtime with no push-outs. It's freestyle
Then they're just
wrestling.
standing. Then they're just dancing out of bounds for
Ended
20
on
minutes.
takedown. Nah,
Then they're
man.
just dancing out of bounds for 20. And the worst thing, you'll get this Ohio State dive to the edge and
No,
wrestle.
but you know what? You start
That's
hitting them
what
with
you'll
those caution twos. You put them on attention the first time, and now
Wait,
you
you don't
caution
want a
someone
push out to
out.
determine it, but you want a referee to determine it.
If you're
Yeah.
stalling, that's
And
different. If you're stalling, that's different, man.
So you were okay with that Jordan Burroughs giving up the 4 then, right? You were okay with the referee deciding that match that way, right? Oh yeah, because referees have been shown to be so honest about it.
That was their coach's fault for throwing that block on a push out.
It was
So early.
Burroughs' fault because
And
Burroughs
15
That's true.
seconds into
But
it.
here's the
Burroughs
other thing is
asked for
that
the
it wasn't just the referee that called that 4. There was the judge that confirmed it as well.
They couldn't
So,
see
you know,
it. From where he was sitting, he couldn't see anything. He didn't even.
I don't have the same angle. I don't know. Was it 4? I don't know. It seemed like maybe a little bit of home cooking to me.
they scientifically showed and proved that referees were cheating at the Olympics. They literally showed that. So
We knew that. Yeah.
we don't want referees deciding that stuff. We would just, hey, look, you get pushed out, it's a point, it's clear as day. You
See,
need to be
that's
as
sumo
definitive as
wrestling, dude.
possible.
That ain't us.
Stay in
That's
the middle.
sumo wrestling,
Stay
man.
in the middle.
I'm
Stay
not
in
a
the
fan of
middle.
push-out.
That's like saying,
Never
oh,
been.
you hit too many doubles, Jordan Burroughs. You got to score with something else. What's next, Mario?
Yeah.
You're gonna limit the number of attacks you can hit? No, come on.
Dude,
You
you
stay
know
in the
how many
middle.
years wrestling survived without push-ups, Richard? I'm telling you, wrestling will be
And we
just
haven't
fine.
grown. We
I'm
haven't
telling you.
grown. That's why we got kicked out of the Olympics because we got
Exactly
boring.
for sorry ass rules like
Boring.
push-outs.
No,
Yes.
because you said it. There was no push outs back then.
Oh,
So
there
no,
were push-outs. When they eliminated
it-
wrestling from the
it's
Olympics a handful of years ago, there were push-outs, my friend.
boring. This is the most exciting. Keep them in the middle. Nothing more exciting than watching the guys having to stay in the
I
center.
think this is the rule set from the 1990s was by far better than what we're working with now.
You are out of your mind.
We
You
had
are
one
out of your
5-minute
mind.
round. 1 5-minute round. Let's reward guys for conditioning. What the hell is this 30-second break in the middle of a match?
God,
Come
are you
on,
serious?
man. Let's reward our
Technique is
guys
so
for
much
having
better.
cardio.
Technique is so much
Let's
better than
reward
it
our
was in
guys.
the 90s.
You
You're out of
know
your
how
mind.
stupid it is where someone can get
You know
one
so
takedown
stupid
and
it is
lock up a
to
leg
see an
lace and end
Iowa
the
guy
match?
stay
Oh
in
my
position and just move forward. This,
Oh my God.
not
So
have
you
any
get one
real technique.
takedown and one leg lace and the match is over. Well, you used to have to break your lock after 2 rolls. Break your lock and then change and then go back in and do whatever you want. We had to actually wrestle. It was a 15-point tech. It wasn't a 10-point blink of an eye. It was real wrestling. You didn't get points for pushing people out of bounds. You had to actually take them down and turn them. I know it's a difficult concept for these kids of today, but you had to actually take someone down and turn them.
What are you talking about? They do turn them. They turn them repeatedly.
Yeah, after we win matches 1-0 push out or 1-0 criteria on passivity.
Okay, I want you
Get
to
out of here with that crap.
name one match at Fargo that was 1-0 on the girls' side. Go.
Let's talk about call. No, man.
I'll wait. You can't name one because they
didn't
don't
watch enough of
exist.
it. I didn't watch enough of it because I don't pay Flow Wrestling.
Homework gets you too damn cheap. Okay, one more thing before we let everybody go, okay? Frank Chamizo and Flow Wrestling brought this up. We got to give them credit, but other people had it also. Frank Chamizo trains at the New York RTC. He's not the only one who's done this. He's not the first person to do this. Okay, you have Franklin Gomez and Jaime Espinal who wrestle for Puerto Rico, who wrestle out of Nittany Lion Wrestling Club. You got Perry coaching Novichkov. You got other
so
guys.
do we get mad every time Aaron Pico goes over and trains in Russia, or do we get mad every time we send our girls to go over there and train in Japan?
Hold on.
No, people are just finding stuff to cry about, man.
First of all,
Jordan Burroughs lost. Get over it. Frank Chamizo's the future. Jordan Burroughs old. Let's move on to the next subject. Come on now.
Hold on. We can talk about this on the next episode.
Any more excuses you want to make for Jordan Burroughs before I go to bed?
Why is it Jordan Burroughs loses one match and everybody's like, he's old? Kyle Snyder loses a match and it's like,
I'm just sick of these excuses, man. I've got coaches that I've respected for 10 years on Facebook making excuses for Jordan Burroughs taking an L. The dude took an L. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Get over it, dude. The sun will still rise tomorrow. Jordan Burroughs is still a bad man. He ain't as bad as Chamizo, but he's still a bad man. Let's be real here.
God. He's lost 3 or 4 times in the last 5 or 6 years. Burroughs,
just like Chamizo said, it took him 4 months to conquer the new weight class. Quattro.
Hey, so hold on. My point to this topic is, would we care if somebody is over there training in Russia? No. Hold on. No. Andy Horvat, well, he has no credibility. He's right on everything, but whatever. Hold on. Would the Russian world champ care if the Russian government or somebody private party in Russia was training David Taylor to beat that Russian national champ over there? Would that make it different for you? Because the United States, part of an RTC, which is privately funded, is paying him a salary to train in the United States the whole time. It's a different scenario than somebody like Novichkov or Perez that was actually born somewhere else, came to America, lived the American life, and now they're representing their country that their actually ancestry is from.
But here's the thing: you're okay. So you're punishing Chamizo for leaving a communist country and trying to seek a better.
Hold on, Italy isn't a communist.
No, he left Cuba.
Right. So he's a defector. He went to Italy because he went after the money.
So he
immigrated because he went after the money to get paid to basically a gun for hire for Team Italy. And then there's nobody over there good enough to challenge him. So now people from the U.S. are paying him. Now, for whatever reason, it might be beneficial to help the other athletes at the RTC wrestle with him every day.
That's what I was going to say. Right? It's not a one-sided blade. It's cutting.
I see where Jordan Burroughs and Nebraska coaches are very upset about it, but they can get over it. I think Jordan Burroughs is going to beat him at the Worlds anyway.
I think Jordan
Chamizo is going down at the World.
I'm just blown away at these excuses, these Nebraska coaches crying, "Oh, he's training with our people." This is not the first time a wrestler's trained in a different country. Like, I don't understand what's the big deal. We go to train in Japan in October. I bring my girls over there. This is the second
heavyweight for Russia.
That doesn't mean those Japanese people that are training us are turning against their country people. That's a bunch of crap, you know?
Here's the scenario. The heavyweight from Russia is Gwizdowski's biggest competitor right now, is training with Kyle Snyder, paid for by the Ohio RTC to come train with Snyder in Ohio, and he will be here for like 6 or 7 weeks training with him. That's the same scenario. It's U.S. money paying for that.
I mean,
the thing, we're not a government agency. That's the thing. USA Wrestling is not a government agency. So these are all private clubs or all private money. They could do whatever they want with it.
If Nebraska wanted to pull some money together and have some Iranian badasses come in or some Russian badasses come in and train Jordan Burroughs or fly Jordan Burroughs to Iran to train it's the same thing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see why we're so concerned about Chamizo coming over here. Again, this is just like the criteria shit. No one gave a damn until Chamizo beat Jordan Burroughs. When it was a slip and slide mat, it was, you know what I mean? No one cared. No one cared until the gap was closing. When Jordan was beating the brakes off of everybody every weekend, it was cool, man. No one cares. Now all of a sudden that someone's actually contending with him, they're like, oh, well, where's that guy training at? Oh, that's not fair that he's training at Cornell. Oh, that's not fair that our American guys are training him. Get the hell over your shit and learn how to beat someone. Come on now. This is terrible. This is
The
terrible.
thing I find funny is that a lot of these people are diehard Americans. Red state people who they're all about capitalism. Well, hey, Chamizo's just capitalizing on this. I mean, he's getting paid. If I'm getting paid to
Chamizo,
wrestle,
yeah, there's nothing wrong. Hey, I'm as capitalist as the next red-blooded American man, but there's nothing wrong with Chamizo coming over here and wrestling well. I'm a fan of wrestling. He is a good wrestler. Why are we going to try to diminish that by saying, oh, criteria, oh, it's not fair who he's training with? Just sit back and admire the show. I don't like LeBron James either, but the dude is pretty freaking good at basketball. You know what I'm saying? It's just be happy for wrestling,
Well, I still think I don't know. I think it's funny that people get so like you said they get so riled up at the last minute. Could you imagine if it was David Taylor's competition? Could you imagine if David Taylor's competition was getting trained in Nebraska? They would lose their mind. Or if it was Kyle Date's
Iowa.
competition, they would lose their mind.
You're right.
100%. They would be, dude. They would not stand for it. There'd be regulations changed. There'd be, trust me. Yeah. Or even if somebody brought in Kyle Snyder, imagine if somebody brought in Sajalayev. You want to make a point? Bring Sajalayev here and have him train. And let's see
more power to those dudes. If someone has the money to fly his butt out here, congratulations. Good job. You know what I mean? And whoever they're training with it is going to benefit and good for them. I don't understand why. Let's complain about someone else's growth because they beat us. It's exactly what's happening.
Could you imagine if the Minnesota Storm paid Sajalayev to come and work out with Gable Stevenson? Dude, Ohio would lose their.
All right. This is fantastic and all, but can we wrap this baby up?
All right. Mario's a little sleepy.
We're
tired, man.
Well, you guys, thank you. We got a little bit more bickery on this one than we usually do.
I like.
Just so you know too, we're gonna have a topic on this next one. I think Camilo Gonzalez is gonna have something to say about your Greco and Jeff Estrada. You guys are sleeping on that. Camilo is a Sunkist Open champ. He has a lot more in the tank than that. So we'll be talking about that next time, though. You guys are sleeping on him. But anyhow, everybody else, thank you so much for listening to us. We're coming to iTunes and Google Play soon. We got everything put in already. We're just waiting for them to go ahead and clear us. But aside from that, we thank you for your support. Please, please, please push us out to all your friends, your family. Like us, share us, do all that good stuff. Thanks again to Josh Rybeck and Mario for spending time. I know Mario's tired. He had a long drive today. So play our music, and we are out. There we go.